So, hello, ladies, and welcome to this evening's webinar. I am Millie Whitehead, and I head up all things at the Leap, whether that be gap travel, midlife travel, corporate travel, you name it. That's kind of falls under our umbrella. So nice for you to come tonight and join in. So, just quickly, what caught your eye and what are you keen to explore and find out more about? Anyone?
And
I was just about to say, oh,
Was it
sorry.
the midlife travel or was it midlife travel or gap year travel, bit of both?
Mine is midlife travel, changes in my current circumstances so I can take my foot off the gas work-wise and go off on some adventures and give a bit back. I think that's where I've come from. So
Yes. Yeah, I know where you are. I'm on that same page. So that is, and Rachel, what about you?
yeah, similar really. I don't know much about it. I've just been on one holiday with a group of women travelers. So I saw this and thought, yeah, I'm interested in kind of midlife and volunteering and things like that. So I
Okay.
wanted to learn more.
Okay, great. Easy then. We can keep on the midlife angle. So the leap, I set up the leap with my husband 20 years ago. Just a brief potted history. And we have been specializing all this time in gap year travel. And then just before COVID, about 2019, I went on a trip to Namibia to look at our projects there and decided to take a group of friends. And we loved it. And the Midlife Leap was born. And we were like, actually, this feels really good to kind of step into the shoes of what we offer our gappers. And what we offer our gappers and now midlifers are adventures which mix up the three key elements of culture, challenge, and contribution. So that forms the backbone of all our leap offerings. And clearly different programs have different bias to kind of that they're kind of weighted in different directions. For example, like the Peru midlife is weighted heavily on the challenge. For that is about living, in a homestay, getting used to the high altitude, and then heading off on the 4-day trek in the Andes, which I absolutely love. I've done it twice now, and love it. So for anybody that is, interested in going to Peru, then it is a real eye-opening because Machu Picchu, it is an amazing thing to see and to do to witness it, but it is just like the full stop, and it is so touristy. You literally want to kind of close, you just think, oh my God, how does this, how does this even still exist with thousands of tourists seeing it every day? So we, through our partners, can get you to Machu Picchu through different routes, which is really exciting. So we offer, any questions so far? You'll get used to me. I love to ramble. So if you want a question, you just got to stick your hand up. Oh, we got another one. Hi, welcome to everybody who's in the background. I can't see or hear you, but if you want to join in, put your camera on. That would be lovely. Makes it more, friendly. Um, anyway, so currently we've got five midlife experiences. Colombia, Peru, Costa Rica, Kenya, and Sri Lanka. And they run at various times of the year. The maximum that we send on any one trip is 12. The minimum is usually about 8. We've never specified that they are women-only trips, but they are turning out to be women-only trips. And I don't have a problem with that because I go on the first of each new country I always lead and take. And I absolutely love it. I love the camaraderie. I love the conversations we have. We're all on the same page. And I come back feeling much, much better after doing a midlife trip than before I went. So I I champion them. Um, so which ones have any kind of caught your eye? Do you want me to explore and talk more about, or no?
Yeah, I will, please.
Go, Sarah.
I've literally just skimmed the website before this call for 10 or 15 minutes, and I've got as far as Costa Rica and Colombia. I've seen the other destinations, but yeah, just interested in those two in particular. And I'm not going to jump to the webpage, but the Costa Rica one talks a lot about conservation, environmentalism, and that kind of thing. So yeah, if you could just say a bit about those two, if nobody else objects, please.
Yeah, no. I've just come back from Colombia, so I'm full of the joys of spring when it comes to Colombia. So Costa Rica and Colombia, they have been scripted to be more of road trips. So you go within the 12 days, you will probably go to 4 different destinations within that. So it's kind of backpacks on. Well, you don't have to take a backpack, kind of backpacks. You kind of 3 nights here, 2 nights there, 2 nights at the next place, and different adventures in each phase. So Costa Rica as a country is all about the environment. It's got no culture whatsoever. There's not an interesting building in sight. It is all about the environment, the volcanoes, the cloud forest, the jungle, the beaches. It's just wow, green haven. It is absolutely stunning, delicious food, lovely people, love it. So if the environment, I was describing it with somebody yesterday, it feels soft, it's a really lovely environmental experience. So lots of adventure, and you're going to be seeing conservation throughout the journey of things that the community have done, in the past and are doing now to preserve their community. And then you'll just go for 2 nights and 2.5 days to a wonderful turtle sanctuary where we are involved in. We've supported for years now, which is family run, and it is a turtle nesting beach. So in January there will be turtles there, but you help in the turtle sanctuary, but also at the same time you will explore the forest there and all their kind of permaculture schemes, which ultimately they're trying to become a self-sufficient ranch, and they're doing it really well. So that's what you do there. And then at the end, you get to Santa Teresa. So in Costa Rica, you go to the volcanoes, onto the cloud forest, onto the turtle conservation, and then onto Santa Teresa, which is the kind of boho cool beach. And you do some hikes, waterfall hikes, you go to a wonderful island, yoga, downtime. It's downtime at the end, which is always needed.
Brilliant, thank you.
Whereas Colombia, having just returned, is vibrant. It's crazy. I absolutely loved it. It's got culture on steroids. It's got amazing architecture, amazing art. There's paintings all over the walls of old buildings. The food is amazing, the dancing, the salsa, everyone is super stylish. It's just like, wow, this is kind of crazy. And there we have got great contacts. I'll talk about our partners and how we achieve our programs. But there we've got we work in Barachara, which first stage is going into the canyon lands, which is these vast canyons, and we stay in a place called Barachara, which is so off the tourist grid, but we found out that it is the most stylish place in Colombia, and it's one of those hidden little gems. And you've got loads of Europeans that escape the winter and live there for 6 months of the year.
Revenge.
So I can see why.
Fathers fighting with sons, kings lording it over the subjects. All right. How you lord it over us. For me,
Leslie,
the mechanism to Sopranos is money doesn't buy
Leslie,
anything. Tony's a rich man, sure, yeah, but
Leslie, we can hear you. You've got your. Never mind. So Barachara is just super stylish, and there it's very community orientated. So I like Costa Rica, which is all about the environment. Here in Colombia, it's all about the people, and they are very community orientated. And we help with 2 community projects in Barachara, one which is reforestation, and one which is the Family in Need. And the Family in Need project is a community-run project specifically for LEAP teams, whether they're gap, midlife, corporate, schools, whatever they are. And the mayor and a kind of group of the kind of community leaders who lead all the development, they vote who needs the help. We do all sorts of random things. So our group, women's workshop, had been washed away, and sadly they'd lost everything in the floods. So we helped, we'd bought them a new roof, and we were setting up a new shelter for them in someone else's home who had donated part of her garden, and help them get all their leather out and get organized again. But previous things LEAP groups have done is an elderly gentleman was losing his sight, so they concreted all the wibbly wobbly steps in his house so that it was smooth running. So it's things like that, but it's in Barachara you get involved in the community. So in Colombia you go from Barachara to the jungle for three days there, exploring the jungle, which is stunning. It's a jungle setting as well. The national park goes from the mountains, snow-capped mountains, all the way down different kind of heights and elevations, creating this amazing jungle right to the beach. So we get you to do a kind of 4-hour hike through there, which is a bit of the challenge. You hike to the beach, get on a boat, you get taken to a wonderful hidden island and have a lovely picnic. And then you go from there, you go to explore some Caribbean islands, and then you end at Cartagena, which is like the jewel of Colombia. Very, very touristy. Again, it's like Peru and Machu Picchu. It's like so touristy, but it's so beautiful. You've got to go. It's one of those it's an old Spanish fort. And inside the fort, you've got higgledy-biggledy little lanes and just amazing architecture, wildly color-coded buildings, gorgeous, music everywhere. So those are the differences, So Sarah, which one, having described it, catches your imagination?
Both.
Yeah, I know. I
To be honest, both, but for different reasons. And so one of the other ladies said a second ago about being, change of circumstances, hoping to take the foot off the pedal a bit. I'm hoping to take some time out, I suppose, is the best way to describe it. And one of the things I'm sort of thinking is to go to that side of the world. They're not right next to each other, but it's sort of the 12-day thing. I'm sort of thinking, do something like this, but then add on or tag on something else, some travel, some independent travel, something. I've done independent travel before, but not to somewhere like that. So not somewhere like Colombia, for example, which, what about that's sprung us question. So in terms of Colombia, what about safety versus, I know Costa Rica, I've got friends that have been to both, but Colombia in terms of safety, how does that work?
I would, if you had to make a choice to go with other people, I would definitely choose to go to Colombia with other people.
Okay.
And as opposed to independently trying to script it yourself, because it is vast, like properly big, this country. Fun fact for you all, Colombia is the same size as France and Spain put together.
Oh, wow.
So you have to fly between every city, or you go on an overnight 12-hour bus, which nobody wants to do. So is it safe? Yes, it is. I went into Bogota. Did I like Bogota? Did I feel like there was a sinister kind of little background? I'm a pretty good traveler. I have traveled quite a lot, and I wouldn't go back to Bogota. But Barachara, Tarona, the islands, I felt really comfortable and really safe, even with a group. I didn't see anything or feel anything sinister about it. Cartagena, on the other side, there are people there to, pickpocket, and I would not walk home on your own. If I wouldn't, even if I was in a hotel going from a restaurant to my hotel in Cartagena, I would not do it by myself.
No, okay. Oh, that's helpful, actually. That's a really helpful distinction.
And it was only Cartagena. And everyone's been saying it, even my sons, they've gone to stay with Brendan and Josie, who run everything, and they were in Cartagena. And funnily enough, one of them got pickpocketed, mugged in Bogota, and one of them got scammed in Cartagena, and it was a clever scam, which involved the police, the hostel owner, and you just think, okay, you've got to be awake, you've got to be on your toes, and you've got to have people that speak the language. Whereas Costa Rica, if you're traveling independently, really easy. Is that you don't have that undercurrent whatsoever, and it's easier to get around from A to B to the touristy areas, because it's much smaller.
So what time of year? So you mentioned about January for the for Costa Rica. When is the Colombia? When are your trips for Colombia coming up?
Do you know, in the office I have a wonderful whiteboard with all the names, with all the dates. They go throughout the year, so there's about two definitely per year per country. So the next one for Colombia is in November this year.
Okay.
And then I think it's like February. It's on the website. So sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I looked at it when I had a very, very brief look, and then I got distracted with I'm trying to get to the end of work contracts.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm just thinking timescale wise, the November, because I'm sort of, I want to do something, at least a couple of things this year in the kind of the second half of the year. So the November is potentially of interest.
Or I've got Kenya in September.
Okay.
So you've got the road trips, which are Costa Rica and Colombia.
Yeah.
Fast paced. You're on. The vibe is backpacks on. Come on, girls. Right. Next thing. The group that I was in. Where's the downtime? I was like, there's no downtime. You got downtime for 2 days at the end, but this is an adventure. This isn't a holiday. It is different. You feel rejuvenated at the end because you feel fulfilled and excited and just like, wow, God, did we really do that? As opposed to, I've had a nice sitting downy on my sun lounger for 3 days drinking rosé and feel, completely different. So the end result is the same. We're just taking you through a different process to get there. So you've got the road trips, and then you've got Kenya and Sri Lanka. Now they are much more weighted towards the volunteering. So you will find in those two places, you are in Sri Lanka staying at Takanda Lodge, working with our great friends that set up the lodge and the Women's Empowerment Centre. You're volunteering kind of for 4 days, and then you go off for a couple of days into the Central Highlands for the hiking phase. In Kenya, again, You arrive, you work at Oceans Alive for 5 days volunteering, and then you go on safari for 3 nights. So you've got a different emphasis. Now, the reason we can create these these experiences is because yes, we're a travel company, but we don't work like a normal travel company. So our partners overseas on the ground are NGOs, so they're local people running local charities, and they've got their own conservation or community projects, and it's through them that we're allowed to work on their projects, and it's through them that they take us off grid because they live there, they know there. That for example, when we were in Barachara, Josie took us to a friend of hers who's an amazing chef, and behind the closed door we went into their garden, sat down, had supper, and they cooked us this amazing meal. At the same time, they've got a great friend who makes cigars. He's got, he's determined, he's moved there, he's going to launch his cigars, going to be the best in the world. So they were a friend of his, and we went and had a cocktail with him and all learned how to make a cigar and create all these boxes. So you just get to do weird things, just wonderful, wonderful things that, it's like going to stay with a friend and them saying, oh, look, come and meet so-and-so, which is really special for me anyway. And the projects, they are real projects. We're not asking you to just kind of paint a wall and kind of, or get knocked down and not looked after. Oceans Alive in Kenya, they are a pioneering coral conservation project, which, Des does TED Talks around the world on how he goes about coral conservation. And now it's being replicated up and down the East African coast, and it's really inspiring. And the way he's approached it is we can't make a difference with the coral unless we do community development. So, and we've got to get the community on board and the fishermen, but we've got to provide the fishermen to stop them fishing and trampling all over the coral. We've got to give them an alternative methods of an income. So all our volunteers, all different shapes and sizes, they work with the community. They are building them little Gico stoves so they can fry their fish, so because they don't have fridges. So that fish now lasts 3 days as opposed to going off overnight. They build these cement sacks full of vegetables so that they can sell vegetables at the local market. And it's simple things like that. So when you're there, like in September, I know I'm going to get involved in the coral. I'm going to put my snorkel and mask on. I'm going to be cleaning coral and seeing how it all is growing, and all of that. So impressive. But at the same time, I'm going to be right in the thick of the local community. I'm going to be building gardens. I'm going to be building them stoves. And in return, they're going to invite me to their church service. They're going to let us all play football against the local team. We're going to kind of be invited for drinks. You get an insight into community life, which is really special, really special. And then as our reward, we go on safari with the lovely Chris, who's an amazing safari guide. So that's the difference. And then Peru, which I started off with, Peru is the big challenge. That's for those that kind of want to really roll up their sleeves. And I've always wanted to see Machu Picchu. I always ask, why do people want to do the Peru one? And it's like, I have always wanted to do Machu Picchu. I've always wanted to get there. I've wanted to see it my whole life. And to see it, to reach it by going off grid is a real, opportunity, a privilege, really.
What's the altitude? Not at Machu Picchu, which is presumably one of the higher points, but
no.
Land, is it not? No.
So I know. Another fun fact for you: Machu Picchu is just over 2,000 meters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's actually the lowest point. of a trek to get in there. So the Sacred Valley of Peru, you arrive at Cusco, which is at 3,000 odd meters.
Yeah.
That's when you get the headache and think, oh, sweet Jesus, okay. And then you've got the whole of the valley, so it's high, and you work your way down the valley to the lowest point being Machu Picchu. But we take you off the Sacred Valley, high up into the high Andes, where you get to meet communities which have been living there as they are in their huts in their amazing colourful clothes, harvesting, farming potatoes as they have done for the last 500 odd years. And you go over passes which are about, well, 4,500 meters.
Okay.
You camp for 2 nights, and then you've got a hostel for 2 nights. It is exceptional. Somebody said to me, you know, you're going to take a trip this year. I was like, no, I've done it twice now, 2 years on the trot. It takes a lot out of you. You've got to get fit. You've got to focus. You've got to, you know, really prepare for it. It's not something you can just, you know, think, oh, I'll do that. But it's really worth it. I took a group of school friends last year. One of us had cancer and had survived. So instead of taking them to somewhere nice and you know, where we could like have a lie down, I said, I know what we should do. We should all go and trek and reach Machu Picchu. And anyway, it was really good because she had to get fit and it was, you know, it's a beautiful place, Peru. Beautiful. Those mountains they're quite spiritual, they're vast, that they are as they have been for hundreds of years. So I love it. But I'm not going back this year. Having a year off. So any other questions? What else can I say?
This is just, while I've got you, just a couple of questions on the So the reason I asked originally was because I've trekked twice in the in Nepal, and both times I got altitude sickness. So the first time I did sort of gradual, you know, up to the pass, which was about 5.2. I got ill after about 4,000 or 4,000 meters, 4,500. And then the second time, because we flew into Lukla, we got to Namche really quickly, and I was really ill from Namche. So it kind of, it didn't ruin it. It's still amazing, but it's not nice being ill like that. And it's also quite dangerous. Yeah. So when you said arriving at Cusco, is it 3,000 or is it nearer 4? I know.
No. It's lower. It's lower. Okay. It's nearer 3.
And then you drop to approximately 2,000, which is Machu Picchu. But when you mentioned camping 2 nights, what sort of height do you camp at?
One is at about 4,000.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great.
So, Sarah, what were your symptoms with altitude?
Horrendous headaches and being sick. So I saw a doctor at Gokyo Lakes, an English GP that was out there helping the Sherpas. And he said, no, don't worry, you haven't got fluid on the lungs. That there wasn't sort of I forgot what it's called now, but it wasn't that, but I just felt absolutely ghastly. And to the point where I couldn't put a foot in front of the other. But by that point, we were 2/3 of the way around the trek. So just had to carry on. The first time I was just ill at the pass, and I went down with one of the guides, and within 20 minutes, I felt completely different, as in better, because we just dropped from the height of because I'd gradually gone up to the pass height, which, as I say, in both cases, it was about 5.2. When I dropped down the first time, I felt fine, as fine as you can. Didn't eat all day, but then ate like a horse at the end of the day because I'd not eaten all day. And we'd done, where you wake up at 2 a.m. and do the past day, basically overnight and into the next day. So it was really just that, because I'd love to go to Peru, but the altitude point is the only thing that makes me a bit nervous.
Did you take Diamox?
No, I didn't take. I don't think so. I think we got something in Kathmandu the first time, and the second time I don't think I did.
It's a really tricky one. The first time I did it, I just got the headache. the second time I did it, I know well, I don't know. I was hormonally very different, so I don't know if that had any changes had affected it. But I got excruciating headaches, like my head was like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and I got a dodgy tummy.
Yeah, I did
A few
too.
other people
To
did.
that
Right.
detail.
As soon as you go down, it
Yeah.
cleared up. Now I wasn't. I did take Diamox, and which was different from the first year. I didn't take Diamox. This year I did, and I was like, God, I wish I hadn't taken the Diamox.
I from memory, because it was a few years ago, from memory, I think we got hold of something that we were told was Diamox in Kathmandu, because you can't buy it in the UK. So we just went to a pharmacy and paid not a lot, I think, for whatever they said was Diamox. But the second time, I think, because someone said in between, there was a couple of years gap between the trips, and someone said, really, Diamox, all it does is mask your symptoms. So it's not necessarily that safe to take it. So I think the second time I didn't take anything. But the second time was where we flew into Lukla. And so I went from, Kathmandu and was in Namche within about 2 to 3 days. And that was about, I can't remember what height it is. It's above, quite a lot above 3. But I think it was the fact that there hadn't been the gradual acclimatization, which there had been on the first trip.
So how we approach it is that you arrive in Cusco, and what we did this time is we all had 24 hours in Cusco before we got picked up. That was just because of the flights. And then we went down to Calca, which is at two something or other, say 2500 to 600. Now that's where your base, that's where you sleep and live for 5 nights. And during that time, every day you're going to go up and down, up and down. So you have the acclimatization.
Yeah.
So that you should be ready. Now,
Yeah.
everyone has suffered from the altitude, but no one has been flawed by it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure. So that really is all I've got to say, apart from, I hope you've enjoyed listening to everything that I've been whiffling on about. And if this does kind of catch your imagination, then keep in contact and look out for, new trips or dates, and get your name down, because once you're in the Leap family, you stay in that Leap family. And this sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm going to brag. We've got people that, they did Sri Lanka and they've come back, and well, the group that I just took to Colombia, there were 12 of us, 8 of us had gone to Peru 2 years before. So once you're in, and it's like, okay, love that. Where are we going? No, can't do it next year. We're going to do it in 2 years' time. So it's we've got people that are on their 3rd or 4th midlifer now and asking for new destinations because we're about to run out. And I'm like, well, okay. So, we're not huge. We're not Exodus. We're not those big companies. We're small, we're bespoke. We specialize in teams of the same age, because I think that is really important. My kids are kind of left home. I've got, they're here actually. One of them's still a student. But I don't want to go away with 25-year-olds as much as I, love them. I'm trying to escape them. So I want to go away with like-minded people, to have like-minded conversations, and that's what I champion. So, there are lots of team travel experiences out there, but that's just one of the things that I don't deviate from. And weirdly, yes, they are all women. And a man booked the other day, and I was like, do you know, you're the only man that's booked on the Colombia trip. I don't think it's for you. I think I'm going to have to return your deposit back. Anyway, so I am I going to take the plunge on the new website coming soon and say this is women only trips? I don't know. I've got to make that big decision.
I've got two more quick questions. One
Yeah.
is where, so I am 98% sure that I just found you through a feed on Facebook.
Yes.
So do you, I mean, obviously you've got a website, I've now seen the website, but where, I haven't had a chance to look at it properly, but where and how do you advertise? Because I'd never even heard of the Leap.
Yeah. Well, that's because we are a gap year business.
Right.
So that's what we've always kind of specialized in. And so we've always advertised and we're kind of known, in the kind of 18, 19 school market. And then so we started in Namibia before COVID, and then post COVID, we just focused on the student travel again. And then in the last 2, 3 years, I've slowly been doing the midlife. And we've just got a new marketing director who's given me a kick in the pants saying, you can do more with this. Hence, they are getting our advertising and are getting our name back out there.
And then, okay, that's great. The second question is, obviously it's all women on the call tonight, around, I'm guessing, within a 10-year sort of age band. Why do you think it is women? Do you think it's the fact that women feel comfortable traveling in a group of women from not just the safety point of view, but women? I was on a retreat in, where was I, Kerala last year, and it was whatever it was, 8 women of a similar disposition, shall we say. Or do you think it's the fact that maybe the volunteering element appeals more to women? I don't know. What do you think it is?
I think all of the above.
Yeah.
So I said to I sent my husband on a midlifer to Guatemala, and he came back and he absolutely loved it. Then I said, well, why don't you go on another one? Because, well, my friends won't come. And I was like, well, you don't have to go with your friends. He goes, oh, no, I'm not traveling with people I don't know. God, no, it'd be exhausting. Whereas I think, and other midlifers that I travel with find that interesting.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a big part for me. I think I've just booked to go sailing on a small boat around the Greek islands for 15 days and it will be So I said to my mother, who's 82, for my 55th birthday, I'm going to be 2 days in on a boat going around the Greek islands with a bunch of complete strangers. How cool is that? And she was like, absolutely terrified of the very thought.
Yeah, it's horses for courses. It's whether. It is exhausting. There is no doubt about it. In Colombia, halfway through, I was like, I've got to go and have a lie down. I can't talk anymore. I literally can't talk. The bus journeys. Somebody just kind of recorded the sound in one of the kind of the buses. And I was like, no, I'm having time out. I'm not coming for supper. I'm exhausted. I'm going to watch Netflix by myself. And I think, but everyone's like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll do the same tomorrow. But we're all I don't know, like it.
And which one has the most purposeful volunteering work?
Kenya has the most volunteering. That goes in September. I'm going on that one. So I'm really looking forward to that. That has a lot of purpose to it, a lot of background, and Sri Lanka.
When's the Sri Lanka one?
That's in February next year. February and November next year. That's a lovely story, the Sri Lanka one. So I've got 2 great friends, Charlie and Richard Pembroke. They live near me here in Wiltshire, and they've been teachers all their life, and they just thought, right, I'm resigning. And she resigned, and he said, I'm resigning and I'm bored of we need a new adventure. So they went to Sri Lanka, they sold up here, went to Sri Lanka, bought a plot of land, built a house, and she thought, wow, what am I going to do? I can't, I've taught all my life. I can't sit around drinking tea. So they set up a women's empowerment center, because in Sri Lanka, it's a very patriarchal society and a very conservative society. And these women, especially down south, the women that she met, are frustrated because they don't have any financial independence and etc., etc., and they don't have the skills. So she and him, because they're so dynamic, they rallied around. They got companies to sponsor this. You know, who does this type of thing? Anyway, they did, and they built this empowerment center. They advertised it, and they thought, "Oh, I wonder who's going to turn up." And they had a queue as long as the road of women just say yes, and they teach them to speak English. And it's not, they can speak English, but to hear, get the ear of the English. So they're being taught how to get jobs in tourism, because that's the main employment down there. So it's teaching English, it's learning to cook Western style food in case they get jobs in villas, sewing skills, computer skills. So when I was there last year, we built them a vegetable garden. So the center is therefore self-sufficient. So they can come and spend the day, eat there, make curries, and it doesn't cost them a penny. We were there teaching them English, and we're having kind of interactive English lessons, just like guidance, ordering, pretending we're ordering at a restaurant. They've got to write it down, and it was just lovely. It was a lovely, wonderful 4 days of real communication and sharing different our cultures. It was lovely. Lovely.
So with the Sri Lanka, after the volunteering, what happens after the volunteering in the Sri Lanka trip?
You then go into the Central Highlands, and which is the tea plantation areas with all the terraces. Oh, just stunning. Much, much cooler. I was just like, thank God for that. We're out of this hot, sweaty coastal area. And it's an organic tea estate, very, very small. And Richard is passionate about tea. And so he will take you to a huge tea estate and tell you all the history of the Sri Lankan tea. And then you go to this one and see the difference. And they have their bespoke teas, which they sell to Fortnum and Mason. And while you're there, Richard will take you on this wonderful hike up to Ella's Point, which is just stunning. It's a challenge. It's a 4 or 5 hour up sweaty challenge, but it's really good. You feel good at the top, and then you go to Colombo and come home. But a lot of people do add on, because that's 8-9 days, and a lot of people in the last group added on and did some independent traveling after that.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure, Steph. Any other questions? No? All good? Right, well, I'm going to love you and leave you.
Thanks for that. That's lovely. I think it's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really interesting.
And just, we're based in Wiltshire. I don't know where any of you are. We've got a little office there, kind of tucked away. But if you're ever coming into Marlborough, drop in. But if you want to talk more, then just give us a call, because we're a friendly bunch. There's only 5 of us in the office in Marlborough, and then all around in the 6 different destinations. So call us. My number's 01672 519922. The number's on the website, so it's there, but we love to chat.
Don't we all?
Yeah, love a chat. Anything to save me from building the new website. Christ alive. Remind me. Never ever in my life am I building another website. So if our website currently doesn't work, I apologize, but I'm not going to do anything about it. You just got to find your way around it, because it's dying a death while we focus all our attention on our new one, which hell on earth. Anyway, that's the trials and tribulations of today. Okay, so lovely to meet you all. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.